Right, so welcome back to this series on 5-a-day GCSE questions. Let's look at the 5 questions for today. The first question is, which number has no reciprocal? So the idea of a reciprocal is you flip the number or you flip a fraction. So the reciprocal of 3 over 4 would be 4 over 3. And if you've got a number, so let's say I want to find the reciprocal of 2, you can think of 2 as there is an invisible denominator, which is 2 over 1. So if you want to find the reciprocal of 2, that would be 1 over 2. So we are looking at which number does not have a reciprocal. So the first question that we are looking at is, which number has no reciprocal? Now, if a number should not have a reciprocal, that means when you do take the reciprocal, something weird should happen to that number. So when you're doing reciprocal, we're mainly talking about fractions here. So which fraction would kind of give us trouble? Well, when it comes to fractions, the rule is the denominator should never be equal to 0. So that means if I take a reciprocal and end up with 0 in the denominator, I might be in trouble. So the answer for the question, which number has no reciprocal, would be 0, because you can think of 0 as 0 over, there is that invisible 1. And if you take the reciprocal of this, you would get 1 over 0. And we know 1 over 0 is an undefined number in maths. So there is no reciprocal for the number 0. And that's our first question. Looking at the second question, we've got the equation of a curve y equals 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. So we want to find the coordinates of the points where the curve crosses each axis, meaning the y-axis and the x-axis. So we want to know, where does this curve cross the x-axis and the y-axis? So the idea is, this is a quadratic and we know it is a positive quadratic. So if you imagine a positive quadratic, now I'm just going to assume it looks something like this. There are 3 main points where it would cross the axes. So on the y-axis, it is crossing at this point, and we call this as your y-intercept. How do you find the y-intercept? If you want to find the y-intercept, plug in x equals 0. So if I go to the equation, y equals 2x squared minus 7x plus 3, and if I plug in x equals 0, I would get y is equal to 3. That means the coordinate of the y-intercept is x is equal to 0, y is equal to 3. So I've got the first point where it crosses the y-axis, which is my y-intercept, and that is 0, 3. Now to find the points where it crosses the x-axis, we are looking at these 2 points here. And when the curve crosses the x-axis, what happens is the y value or the y coordinate becomes 0. So the black dots or the black points which we have labeled in the picture, those are my x-intercepts. And if I want to find the x-intercept, all I have to do is find or plug in y equals 0. So if you want to find y-intercept, plug in x equals 0. If you want to find x-intercept, plug in y equals 0. So I go back to the question and we're going to plug in y equals 0. So if you plug in y equals 0, you'd get 0 equals 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. So we're going to have to solve this quadratic now. So again, we'll start by doing factorizing. So I'm going to multiply the 2 all the way to the 3. That gives me x squared minus 7x plus 6. I can factorize this. So this would be x minus 1 and then x minus 6. Now remember, I have to find the solutions of 2x squared. So because I did a multiplication, now I'm going to do a division here. So this would be minus a half. Sorry, yeah, and then divide both of them by 2. So that would then give me... So we've got x minus a half and then x minus 6 over 2. So that would be x minus 1 over 2 and then x minus 3. Remember to simplify, and then you would get 2x minus 1 and then x minus 3. So we've factorized the quadratic and we need to solve the quadratic. So that would mean either 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. If 2x minus 1 is equal to 0, x is equal to a half. Or x minus 3 is equal to 0. That means x is equal to positive 3. So the curve intersects the x-axis at 2 points. So it's slightly different to the curve that we have drawn. Oh, my bad. That is not a positive 3. That is a negative 3. I was so stupid. Right, so we know the curve is, one of the points is at a half and the other point is at a 3. I'm just drawing rough sketches here. And then we know the y-intercept is at 3. So the curve would look something like that. So first coordinate 0, 3. This one would be 0.50 and the last one would be 3, 0. So the x-intercepts would be 0.50 and the other one is 3, 0. So these are the two x-intercepts, and we've also found the y-intercept. Next question is, we have to sketch the graph of y equals tan x, and it is in between 0 less than x less than or equal to 180. So we know any trigonometric graph, when we're sketching the graph, the key points are multiples of 90. That is where something different usually happens. So we have 0, 90, then 180. Now, for a tan graph, we have to remember, at even multiples of 90, the graph would be on the x-axis. And for odd multiples of 90, we would be having the vertical asymptotes. So even multiples of 90, 0 is a multiple, 180. Odd multiples of 90, we would be having a vertical asymptote. And then the graph climbs. So the shape of the graph is something like this, where that's your 0, and this part would be like this. So obviously there is a part here, there is a part there as well, but those two things are not included because we do not need anything that is beyond 180 or the part that is before 0. So that is the sketch of y equals tan x. The next question that we've got is a quadratic simultaneous equation. So we need to solve x squared plus y squared is equal to 9 and y is equal to x plus 3. So the first step would be we're going to do a simple substitution because they've given us what is y, which means we can substitute y in there. So that gives us x squared plus y becomes x plus 3. So this becomes x plus 3 squared, and that is equal to 9. Remember the trick that we discussed to square something quickly? So square the left, that's x squared. Square the right, that's a positive 9. Times them together, that's 3x. Double them, 6x. And there you go, we get that. So this bracket here, when you expand them, becomes x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then we still have another x squared. So if we tidy that up, we get 2x squared plus 6x plus 9 is equal to 0. We've got a quadratic equation. We're going to try to solve this. So multiply the 9 all the way. So we get x squared plus 6x plus 18 equals 0. 18 could be done with 3 and 6, but that's a plus 18. 9 and 2 doesn't work. 9 and 2 doesn't work. What would work? 18, there's 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. I can use 3 and 6, but then that should have been a negative 18. Have I made a mistake anywhere? No. So it looks like we're going to have to use quadratic formula on this one because I don't think we can factorize this. So because we cannot factorize this, I'm going to go back and I'm going to use the quadratic formula. So A is 2, B is 6, and C is 9. So x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that is going to be minus, use brackets when you're using letters, plus or minus square root of 6 squared minus 4, a is 2, c is 9 over 2 lots of a is 2. So first let's do the positive part. Get your fraction button first. Minus of, use the brackets not to make a mistake, plus square root. Yes? Thank you. Sorry about that. So we've got plus b squared would become 6 squared minus 4 times a times c. So minus 4, a is 2, and then c is 9. Now we come to the denominator, and then 2a would be 2 times 2, which is 4. Ooh, we've got trouble. We've made a mistake somewhere. What mistake did we make? That's an imaginary root. X squared plus y squared is 9. Y equals x plus 3. We plug that in. X squared plus 6x squared over 2. I think there is something wrong with this question. 2x squared. Oh, there is no... Oh my god, I'm so stupid. Right, there is no... Yeah, there is no 9 anymore. So we subtract the 9 on both sides. Now please pay attention. These are the silly mistakes that you can make when you're doing your test as well. So subtract 9, you now have 2x squared plus 6x is equal to 0. So that means you've now got, you can factorize this straight away. So this would be 2x times x plus 3 is equal to 0. Please do not make the mistake of doing 2x squared is equal to minus 6x and then, no, it's always a good practice to first factorize this and then solve it. So now we have two factors. If the first factor is equal to 0, that means x would be equal to 0. The second factor is equal to 0, that means x would be equal to minus 3. Remember to use or and not and. So x is 0 or x is equal to minus 3. So now we have again two scenarios. If x is 0, we know y is equal to x plus 3. That means y is equal to 0 plus 3, which is 3. Or if x is minus 3, then y is equal to minus 3 plus 3. That means y would be equal to 0. So you have two sets of solutions. X is 0, y is 3. Or you have x is minus 3 and y is 0. So that is question number 4. So sorry that I kind of messed up that question there. Right, last question is, we've got an exponential equation which is 125 to the power of x is equal to 25 to the power of x plus 5. Now remember, we discussed this idea yesterday that the base need to be equal, but the problem is I cannot write 125 as a power of 25. But what I can do is I can boil down both of them into powers of 5. So 25 is also a power of 5, 125 is also a power of 5. So we can rewrite this as 5 cubed to the power of x is equal to 5 squared to the power of x plus 5. And because we've got power of a power, laws of indices, the powers need to get multiplied with each other. So that's 5 to the power of 3x is equal to 5 to the power of 2 times x plus 5. Now, one common mistake that I've also made in the past is writing this as 2x plus 5. But remember, it is 2 lots of x plus 5, which is 2x plus 10. Now that you have two exponential equations expressions that are being said equal to each other and that the bases are same, you can argue that the powers need to be equal to each other. So now you've got 3x is equal to 2 lots of x plus 5, meaning 3x is equal to 2x plus 10. Subtract x is equal to 10, and that is your answer. So that's our 5 questions for the day.